send my son to a better school when this one goes down.
We don't want this here in Francis Howell.
I deserve to not have to worry about my children getting stabbed or taking a drug or getting robbed, because that's the issue.
Ooh, that is not subtle. She's just a homies and a baggy pants away from full dog whistle bingo.
Okay, so remember Francis Howell? Trans Francis Howell, as we called them?
Oh yeah, you were mentioning that we were going to be talking about this school again soon.
Yeah, so I actually looked up the whole school district. Like, the area that this district serves contains about 70,000 people. For comparison, I live in the Niagara region. It's not huge, but it's not small either. We have about 500,000 people in Niagara.
Okay.
So this is significantly smaller than the school districts that service my children. But they've been in the national news quite a lot. So those clips that we heard, that was from an episode of John Oliver. I was looking for funny clips to put in here, and I'm like, we're talking about, like, this is going to get into segregation type stuff. Like, are there funny things about segregation? How do I find that? And John Oliver has a segment on segregation. And hey, in his segment on segregation, there were a bunch of parents from Francis Howell complaining about black students being sent to their schools. Because that's what that was, in case you didn't catch it.
Oh.
The person saying, "Oh, I don't want my kids getting stabbed or getting drugs." That was in response.
Genetically predisposed to stabbing.
So that was in response. That was in 2013, and that was in response to I think it's Missouri. Yeah, because they're in the same state as St. Louis. So yeah, Missouri. The Missouri Supreme Court decided that like kids from school districts that were failing and doing absolutely terribly could be bussed into more affluent school districts. So the way that works out is because money follows the white kids when it comes to schooling. That meant that black kids were being bused to white schools. And the Francis Howell parents were like, "No, I don't want them stabbing my kids."
Cool, they're not going to stab your kid by being black.
Yeah, well, tell that to them. Anyway, Francis Howell School Board votes to remove Black History and Literature classes.
Oh, okay, cool.
So this was sent to me by Jacqueline. So, yeah, that's news@vicerhino.com if you have any news items you want me to cover. Jacqueline was kind enough to send it. Jacqueline actually sent 2 news items. This has been a developing story since the first time she sent it to me. So this is the latest iteration. So, the Francis Howell School Board voted Thursday to eliminate the elective courses of Black History and Black Literature from the District 3 high schools. The courses were first offered in 2021, so these are brand new courses being offered that are now being nixed at the high schools after Francis Howell students complained about discrimination against students and staff of color. So people were complaining, like, hey, you guys are discriminating against students of color and you're discriminating against staff of color. So, like, maybe we should have some classes that, like, teach some inclusive shit.
And I know there are people who get pissed off about any type of, like, inclusivity training, but
my God, I saw a fucking tweet from some guy that it was just like a picture of a bunch of kindergartners in a classroom, and they were like, "Soon this will be every classroom in America. This is so horrible." Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I'm like, what? Like they're in school uniforms. Like school uniforms have pros and cons, but like, so I could see how like someone would not like school uniforms because like that's kind of like unfair to, you know, families that aren't as well off that can't afford to buy new uniforms every year because kids fucking grow. So like, yeah, there is a discussion to be had there about the harm that can come from that, but also like it's school uniforms, which means it's an affluent school, but they were saying it was like an average school, and it's like, no, this isn't average if they're wearing uniforms. But and so like I was honestly baffled. I'm like, I don't even know what this person is trying to be offended at. But then after scrolling through their replies, they clarified it was the Great Replacement theory because there were like Black and Asian students in the picture.
Oh, okay.
And so it was like
other
enough
races were included.
There aren't enough white kids, therefore this is bad. It's like, oh, fuck off.
And
For like a glorious 20 seconds, I lived in a world where the biggest problem with that picture was the uniforms. And then it's like, no, they're trying to replace us. Oh, fuck off.
it was only for 20 seconds. And then suddenly you were reminded that actually, no, we live in a world where there are people that think that white people can literally be fucked to death. Or be fucked into extinction, rather.
I was going to say, being fucked to death sounds not too bad.
Not death by snoo. Breeding happened and then your race was destroyed, apparently. Anybody that believes that, just like, no, we're all human. It's okay for humans to fuck other humans. That's fine.
Yeah, like, I don't... So my partner is biracial. And she actually pointed out to me that, like, technically, I've never actually dated a white woman. Like, a pure white... My wife was Armenian. She was mixed Armenian and French. And then in between her and my current partner, I had one girlfriend who was black. So, like, I've never actually dated my own race, apparently. That just never occurred to me because, like, I just don't fucking care.
Because it's not a thing normal people think about.
And it's not that stupid, like, oh, I don't see race. No, of course I fucking see race. Like, you can't not see race. That's just stupid. Don't say that. I just don't care about, like, I'm not going to judge you by the color of your skin. I'm going to judge you by the content of your character, to quote someone who was semi-influential in the United States.
Man, conservatives love that quote more than anybody else.
They do, but they misconstrue it all the fucking time.
Yeah, no, that quote hurts my brain.
And it's just like, I want to celebrate all these different cultures and everything, but at the same time, like, no, they're not trying to replace white, but, like, would it really be a bad thing if white people were replaced at this point? Like, I can't think of very many good arguments against, like, our food's not great. Like, it's okay. But, like, when people are deciding to go to a restaurant, or, like, they're never like, hey, let's go to the British restaurant.
What was that? I forget what show it is, but there's a show where a person was trying to, like, grab people that he thought might be a terrorist, or a cop was. And the dude comes in, and the cop's looking at him and going, okay, so I don't believe that you're English. And he goes, no, I'm English. Okay, but you don't look it. All right, cool. What kind of food do you like? Oh, English food, like Chinese. Just like, yeah.
That's it. It actually kind of surprised me, like, how many English restaurants you can get butter chicken at. And actually, so this is probably the most white person moment of my life. My first time ever having butter chicken, I was like, I didn't know it was curry. So I'm, like, picturing, like, a chicken breast that's, like, sauteed in garlic butter or some shit like that. So I was like, I had no idea what I was getting. And so, like, now to this day, I generally, like, when we were in Toronto, my partner took me to her, like, she lived in Toronto for several years, and she took me to her favorite Indian restaurant there, where they do amazing butter chicken, and I tried the butter chicken there, and it was great, but, like, still, when I think of butter chicken, it tastes like lies. Not because like, I was picturing one thing and I got something else, and so now it's just, so, like, in my brain, it's just wired as, like, butter chicken is disappointment, because that's what I expected, but that's not what I got.
So, funny thing, I've actually never had butter chicken.
Well, then you need to go to this one little restaurant in Toronto, because they actually do a really good butter chicken, and I regretted what I ordered because the butter chicken was so fucking good.
Well, at some point, I'll probably make my way there just to bug the piss out of you. But
I look forward to it.
In the meantime,
come on, bring it, motherfucker.
Bring it. Okay,
let's go to Toronto.
I
will take you for butter chicken in this restaurant that I don't even remember what it's called.
Let me just go get a passport real quick for both me and Saki. It'll work. I definitely have the money to do that. No, I don't.
So really. Several speakers at the meeting on Thursday criticized the board for focusing on culture war issues this school year rather than, like, educational issues. Clearly, none of you see that your actions say loud and clear to us that you don't care about black and brown families in our district, said Harry Harris, a black father and former school board candidate. There were 60 students taking black history and 42 taking black literature, so that's 20 kids per class for Black history and 14 kids per class for Black literature because this is across 3 high schools. Those are decent class sizes. Like, I don't know what the average class size is, but like I know like overall, so like this whole school district, like I said, serves about 70,000 people as opposed to the 500,000 people in the school district in my area. And for the high school I went to, most classes had about 20 kids in them. So these are not unpopular courses.
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to think of how many people were even in my school classes. Just a not important information just popped in my head because of that.
Heidi's saying the Little India restaurant. That is my partner, for those of you who don't know.
Oh, okay.
So that's the restaurant in Toronto.
Well, at some point I will have to try butter chicken there. At some point I also just have to try butter chicken.
It's on the street that's right around the corner from the place that I ate a dick at.
Excuse?
Did you not see my my 10 things that don't make sense about Christianity? Where I ate a dick for point number 10?
No, I didn't actually.
No, I stuck that dick right in my mouth.
Well, I know what I'm watching when we're off screen.
That was one of those moments where it's like, this has to be a one-take thing, because if I have to do it in 2 takes, I have to go buy another dick.
And where we're going, we can't afford new dicks.
No. And that was actually where I sent this to the chat group, so surely you saw this. It was the hot mic moment where like we'd stopped video recording, but I still had my microphone recording. Where Shannon, so my partner was like, I want to get a picture of Justin licking the balls. And then Shannon was like, I'll hold your dick. So
I actually did not see that part of the group chat.
Oh, okay. Well, you need to pay better attention then.
A lot of stuff happens in the group chat sometimes when I'm asleep.
Yes. And I now have an audio recording of Shannon saying, I'll hold your dick while you go lick those balls. And then what's funny is I didn't see this at the time, but like in looking at the picture of me licking the balls afterwards, there's like 2 guys that I don't know that you can see in the reflection of like the window that's behind me that are like looking at me like, what the fuck is that guy doing?
His best, everybody. He's doing his best.
It was like it was a pastry shop. Like there, like the dick was made out of waffle and it was dipped in chocolate or whatever. Then like next door was a shop that sold balls, and so it was like that was the big joke. It was like, this is the dick and balls shops. But
wait,
they had
balls
like,
as in the energy drink balls?
No, just like waffle balls or something, like donut balls.
Oh,
something like that. But it was like, it's right next to the dick shop, so it was funny. And they had like a little figurine outside with the balls on it.
Okay, fair enough.
Anyway, so during the discussion of the proposal, Stiglitz, that's the board member that is against removing these courses, asked why the matter was not taken to a committee first. We have a curriculum committee for a reason. Was this brought up? To which Randy Cook said, I value the curriculum committee on a lot of things, but on this item, my mind is made up. In other words, fuck black people. I don't want to teach about them.
It's amazing to me when somebody in the education system has basically gone, I will not hear arguments.
Do you remember Jane Puskar?
I do not. I'm terrible with names, though, so it makes sense.
Well, I had trouble with Jane Puskar last time. So she was the person that was elected because she had a bunch of funding from a conservative PAC.
Mm-hmm.
And she said,
"Oh, I remember that story." Because we both had the same opinion that, like, if a political PAC is funding you, you shouldn't be on a school board.
Yeah. So Puskar says the committees and the superintendent and the administrators work for the board, and the board has the final decision. The Black History and Black Literature courses were targeted by Political Action Committee Francis Howell Families, which says the curriculum. And like this is the thing with the right wing, is like anything with the name family in it, immediately
it's immediately bad.
My immediate thought is that's a hate group. Because they have family.
Because so often it is.
Focus on the family, family first. The Francis Howell families.
Like it's a trigger word at this point.
Yeah. What about
we know what we're getting into.
What about black families? Do we want black families to be represented here?
We would like them to be if we're going to have an organization
I
that
would
has
like
the
them to be.
name families in the name. You'd think
Yeah.
that
So-
their families matter.
So that's the thing. Like, I am not black. I'm not a person of color. I have not grown up with these things, so I don't know personally what it feels like to be in this. But like, I have seen my partner be like I send my application out for jobs and I don't get calls back unless I use my middle name, which is more clearly a white name, whereas my first name is a black name, and I don't get calls back unless I use my middle name. But at the same time, her skin is light enough that she can be white passing. So a lot of times the black community doesn't necessarily accept her. So like I've seen the racial struggle in what is supposed to be a post-racism world, according to right-wing assholes.
Yeah, we were a post
Like,
legislated
just-
racism, but not actually
Yeah,
racism.
no, it's not. That's not how it works. Like, I've seen the struggle. Like, I've not experienced the struggle. She has experienced that on a level that I will never be able to fully appreciate. But like, I can at least empathize with her.
So
Anyway,
it's the sucky life thing. Yeah.
Drew Harrison says, "Suck on my chocolate salty balls." So that's,
So he's just Chef from South Park.
yeah. Suck on my chocolate salty balls. That was one of the 4 episodes of South Park. Like, I never really got into South Park, but I feel like that was more because when it was airing on cable when I was a kid, the channel that it was on just had like 4 or 5 episodes that they showed on repeat. So like, I saw those 4 or 5 episodes and it's like, okay, well, I've seen this one already. I'm going to turn it off now. That's boring.
Oh.
So I like, anytime people reference South Park, I'm like, yeah, no, I saw those 4 episodes, and the chocolate salty balls one was one of those episodes.
So much weird, like, behind the scenes stuff for South Park. Like how when the actor who played Chef was a Scientologist.
Oh, was it?
And when they made their episode making fun of Scientology, he tried to get them to pull it, basically, and the creators just went, no, we're keeping it. And so he quit, but they didn't have a way to like write Chef out of the show. So they just took all of the words that he had said in previous episodes and spliced them together to make his speech for episodes going forward instead of hiring a new actor. They were just like, no, he is Chef. So this is how it's going to be.
That's hilarious. Anyway, so Francis Howell Family says the curriculum is laced with leftist principles and critical race theory.
You know, it's funny. I don't think they should give a shit about that. They're educators, right? It shouldn't matter if it's left or right. It should matter that it's correct.
Yeah, you'd think, because facts don't care about your feelings unless you're on the right. Then suddenly my feelings matter way more than these facts.
My feelings about God are very important to me. It is my sincerely held religious belief.
Like, doesn't matter that the science says that, you know, sex and gender are on a spectrum. My feelings say that there's only male and female.
My feelings tell me when I think of a girl with a dick, I get real confused, and I don't like that.
I don't get confused.
That's cool, but the random conservative dad I'm making fun of definitely does.
If someone is attractive, they're attractive. Like, just enjoy it. If you're attracted to someone, just enjoy that attraction. Like, don't worry about the fucking labels. Just be like, hey, that person's hot. I like them.
Yeah, you'd think it would be that easy, but no, these people get very uncomfortable. I think the idea pops in their head of like what it would be like to bring their new spouse to the kitchen table with a bunch of other bigots, and they get very uncomfortable at that feeling, and then they just like stay steeped in their bigotry because of that level of cowardice.
Yeah.
That's just a guess I'd have.
Oh, yeah. Also, just in case you were in doubt, the school board in Francis Howell, completely made up of white people.
Figures. Sounds about white.
Yeah. So they say, when we think about social studies and education, it's teaching students who is human and how to treat people humanely. It's not trying to make kids patriotic or make kids hate America. It's to help kids see their humanity. So like that's the whole point of these courses, is like, you are human, black people are human, and you have different experiences about the world. So let's explore that a bit. And I don't see anything wrong with that.
Because there is nothing wrong.
It's inherently true.
Like at the end of the day, all you're doing is you're just having a course that says, hey, other people existed, and sometimes their experience is informed by these other things that happened. Like when we learn about the Trail of Tears, we're not doing it so that you say, man, fuck white people who came here from Europe. I hate my ancestors. That's not what they're trying to do. They're trying to go like, hey.
Yeah, but also fuck those white people that came here from Europe. Because they did fucking suck.
Point. The point isn't to say fuck them. The point is to say, hey,
I mean,
there are people whose experiences are very informed by these things that happened in the past, and they don't just go away. It's one of the reasons why there's so many like drugs and drinking problems in native populations.
Yeah. So I'm not going to dox myself here, but like my last name, if the only famous people, like quote unquote famous, they're not really famous, but like the most notorious thing that happened that involved anyone with my last name, we were the bad guys in that situation. I'm not proud of the historical event that actually has my last name attached to it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the ancestor of mine who is the reason that last name was attached end up being hanged by a mob because they were the bad guy. And I'm just like, that's the thing we're most well known for.
Oof.
But like, that doesn't make me hate white people. That's just like,
no, that makes you not like the specific people.
My ancestor was a dick. That doesn't make me a dick. Like,
also, I just got a raid from Tipster. I want to go ahead and say before I forget, thank you so much for the raid, Tipster. Hopefully your stream went well.
Hi, Tipster. I don't know who you are, but thanks for the raid to Suris.
Lucky Otter says, what did your ancestor do?
I am not telling because I don't want to dox myself.
There you go. Otherwise, people are going to start putting 2 and 2 together in 23andMe Rhino. They'll trace him through his bloodline and kill him.
Actually, what's funny is my dad, he found out that his wife, who is my stepmother, not my actual mother, he's big into ancestry.com sort of stuff. Like he sent his DNA off for testing and finding out who the ancestors are and everything. And he's found out that like he's actually a very distant cousin of his current wife. But like their last ancestor was like from the 1500s or something. But like one of his Christmas presents to us this year was it's like it's just cash. Like, hey, when you go on vacation in the summer, we'll give you some cash. But like on the backside of the paper that said that was also the family tree tracing, here's my wife's family history and here's my family history. And this is where they intersect. So yeah, we're inbreeding. Yay.
Oh boy.
I mean, like not inbreeding because they're not having more kids, but like it's still kind of funny.
You just look at it and you go like, oh, that happened.
And it's far enough ago in the past as like, 20th cousin or something, so it's not like it's inbreeding. It's just normal British inbreeding.
Normal British inbreeding? What's normal British inbreeding, Rhino?
Have you met the royal family?
This is just the regular inbreeding you expect of the crown. They call it bangers and mash because there's only cousins in the family tree.
Gotta get the mushy peas in there.
Oh my god.
Anyway, back to the news article that we're ostensibly talking about.
It's at this point it's just a framework for other conversation, let's be honest.
Yeah. The Black Literature course focuses on contemporary and multi-genre literary works of Black authors and will celebrate the dignity and identity of Black voices. Sounds fine.
Mm-hmm.
Like, these are voices that have consistently been repressed in society, so let's give them a little boost. I don't see a problem with that.
No, the only thing we're allowed to learn about is that George Washington Carver existed. That's it. There's your Black history. Moving on. Martin Luther King might have been around at some point. We don't know.
He had a dream. You know, it's just like that song from Tangled. I had a dream. I had a dream.
You know, I forget that song exists. Even when I see that one meme of like the dude from the movie with all the swords around him, I still forget that song existed.
It's a decent song.
It's not
bad. I like the message of that movie is that like these terrifying looking ruffians in the pub are just normal people with their own hopes and dreams. Like, yeah, this guy wants to look tough, but he also wants to be a pianist.
Let's see. It's interesting when you bring up her just somebody to acknowledge only two genders because they ignore everything. Yeah, when you bring up somebody who's intersex to people who only understand two gender stuff, their brain kind of fries.
Okay, so Lekka School says, I agree with Heidi, but I haven't really been reading the chat, so I don't know what Heidi's been saying. But I can say confidently that I probably also agree with Heidi. And I'm not just saying that because, like, oh, she's my partner, she'll get mad at me if I don't agree with her. Because, no, we disagree about stuff, but, like, with reference to whatever we're talking about, I probably agree with her. I've probably learned whatever I'm saying from her. Because, like I said, I haven't had these experiences personally. I'm a white guy. Society was built for me.
But you learn about these by shock, talking with people who've had those experiences around you.
Learning about them. It would be nice if there was like a school system that like enhanced these voices so you could like read these other perspectives on history. Wouldn't that be great?
That would be really cool if we had.
If only Francis Howell didn't vote against that.
No, don't you understand, Rhino? On this issue, his mind is made up.
Yeah. Anyway, like the whole point of this basically is that like these conservatives, they don't actually care about kids getting a good education because like this, like realistically, having this can only benefit the kids that get this education. Like the kids that go to this class, that will be a benefit to them. They will now experience alternate viewpoints that are not just the white people telling the white side of the story. They will actually experience like, this is what it was like to be a black person during Reconstruction or one of these other significant historical events. Like that can only be beneficial to be able to understand someone else's perspective. Like,
well, especially if you start talking about stuff that happened during, say, segregation, and then you point out like how recent that was in the grand scope of things. And then you get that fun realization for a kid where they're like, wait a minute, the great grandparent of my best friend probably went through that. Like that's a thing that will end up happening organically because these kids know math. They'll figure that part out. They'll put 2 and 2 together and go, oh. And then suddenly they might start talking to their friend about, hey, can I meet some of your extended family? And suddenly now you've got a whole bunch of good conversations and socializing going between groups. And, you know, that's only a good thing. But his mind is made up, Rhino. His mind is made up.
Yeah, apparently. Anyway, next news item.
Hey, I just quickly want to give a thank you to all of my wonderful patrons who keep this show running. YouTube and Twitch are a pretty bumpy ride at the best of times, and the stability that Patreon provides me is worth more than I can say here. I'd also like to thank each and every one of my $20 and up patrons here, and they would be Red Joker, Britzkrieg, Cameron, Dren, Jemshin, Smiling DM, Poundini, Mabbity Babbity, Naomi, Isaac, Agamotto, Jordan, Ravi, Giuni, Kiratorian, Prisma, all of you, I'm not saying that part, and Starlight. And finally, thank you to everyone else that helps keep this channel alive. While you're here, why not check out another video? And thank you for watching.